What's going on, traders? Welcome back to the channel. Now, this has been an overdue interview. I'm sure you guys are all very familiar with Jordan from TGFX, but if you're not, he started out learning the TGFX strategy a couple years back, taking the 5-day class, and his trading completely took off. He ended up actually being a mentor and a teacher within TGFX and actually calls the gold trades in the live trade room. What's going on, Jordan?
What's going on, Ray? Glad to be on.
Most definitely. I'm glad to have you here too. Now, once again, it's kind of overdue because you've been a huge part of the community pretty recently. And, I think it's time that the traders get familiar with you and your skill that you actually have. So recently you shared with me that you wanted to actually, start building up your funded accounts. You wanted to start reaching towards that 500,000 mark. And we love challenging ourselves. We talk between ourselves all the time about, how can we get better at passing these challenges? How can we relay that to our students? And, when we're taking those actual entries in the market in the live trade room, how can we refine our entries to get better and better at passing these challenges and helping people get funded? So you recently shared with me that you started building another account and actually got to the funded stage and actually made a decent amount of profit on that. So how much profit did you end up making?
So I actually made $9K from my first payout from the funded trader.
Nice. And how long did that actually take you to make?
Less than 30 days. So I actually only traded about 16 of those 30 days. And once that 30-day hit, the payout was, it was history.
So to give the viewers a little bit of background, when we first met a couple years ago, you were actually working as a design engineer, right?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah. And as a design engineer, how much would you say you're kind of bringing in per month?
So per month, I was bringing around $3,000 to $4,000 per month.
And that's crazy. And just from challenging yourself, us talking back and forth about, how can we continue improving and providing value and getting better within ourselves, you took it upon yourself to, get another funded account. And within 30 days, you doubled the paycheck that you would have been getting from a normal job. How does that feel?
Man, it's a dream come true. It's something that I thought about during that time and during that process, but it just was a matter of taking those steps to get to this point. And now it's like, now I know I can double it, triple it, and so forth and so on. So I'm excited. It feels great, man.
Most definitely. And that's the thing is like, once you possess the skill set, it's game over. You can do this over and over and over again. And that's what we want to make sure we're relaying to the students, as well as when we're taking these trades in the live trade room. It's like, we want you guys to understand, like, we're being extremely transparent with everything we do. And we hold ourselves accountable and to a level of excellence to, provide you guys the best experience possible. So us taking these challenges, passing these challenges, getting these payouts, it wouldn't make sense for, traders to follow other traders that aren't even passing these challenges, getting the big payouts themselves. So I thought it would be very important to actually share with you guys these 5-figure payouts that we're getting from the markets and, share our journeys as well with you guys. All right, so now I want to dive a little bit deeper into your mindset. So what allowed you to get to the point where you can pass these prop firm challenges with ease?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I would say the way that I was able to really start passing these prop firm challenges with ease will more so just be the mindset and the process of like journaling, studying, and getting to the point of knowing exactly the trades that I want to take in the market opposed to the ones that I don't. So actually journaling and documenting every single trade that I take and having the statistics in front of me and being able to visually see that. So I think like my engineering mindset is more so of needing to see statistics, being able to see numbers, being able to see how the strategy plays out and put all that information in real time and actually apply that to the market. So I think that was the biggest thing of actually having everything journaled, recorded. And once I had a set list and plan of what I needed to see and what I need to do in the market, from that point, it was just to execute.
Most definitely. I think you dropped a lot of gems there. And one thing that actually stood out to me was that you're playing off your natural strengths. So you said because of the fact that you come from an engineering background, you utilize that, right? Because when you're doing engineering, it's all about data and analytics and statistics. So you're actually using the strengths that you already had and putting it towards your trading. So that's pretty cool. Now, when you say journaling, what exactly are you talking about? Are you talking about, your entries and exits? Are you talking about, your emotions during your trades? Or can you dive a little bit deeper into that?
Yeah, so journaling is everything. So I would say like in the beginning of my career, it definitely was just the entry, the exit, how it looked before I entered the market opposed to, once I got out of the market, whether it was the stop loss that got hit or the take profit. Now, once I got further into my journey, I definitely started implementing a lot of the psychology work. How was I feeling that day? How was I feeling in that moment? Before I took that trade, how did I feel after I took the trade? All these things. So it was not just specifically the trade setup, it was also the efficiency of a certain setup, and basically critiquing myself on how I can get better. And I also added a section at the each of like end of my trading days, of the lesson learned. It's also about understanding myself a little bit more and how I felt in that moment, and those things kind of directly determine the outcome of those trades. So the lesson learned is from psychology, from what I learned in that trading setup, the whole nine. So I definitely started to implement, not only just recording my trades of, again, like the actual screenshots and, why I took this setup, yada, yada, but more so the psychology and, my feelings and emotions within that moment in that trading day.
Yeah, that's very powerful. And the key, I feel like, to trading, passing challenges, whatever it is like you have to maintain your awareness and you have to find what works for you. So if journaling is what brings that, which I think it will for most traders, because it allows you to look at yourself. And as long as you were being truthful and unbiased when you're writing that stuff in your journal, it's like you have to embrace it. You know what I mean? So if you made a mistake that day and you moved your stop loss too quick, or you over leveraged a trade, you have to read that journal again and say, I messed up. What am I going to do? Is tomorrow going to be different, or am I going to, create the same cycle of sabotage by doing the exact same thing? So that's very powerful.
Yeah, and I like that you said that, because a lot of times, it'd be certain days when you do take that loss, or even for myself, when I would take losses early on and I wouldn't want to write it down. I wouldn't want to go to that end of I wouldn't want to get to the end of the day where I know it was time for me to journal, because I wouldn't want to write down those mistakes that I made. But, writing that stuff down and seeing my progress over time, it definitely helped out a lot. Once you can write it down, you can kind of identify with what you did wrong that day, and it's only going to help you to get better in the process. But it's definitely hard at first, for sure.
Yeah, it's really just never ending growth. Like you just got to keep chucking away every single day at getting better, refining yourself, and also learning what works for you. Once again, it's just like everybody is a little bit different, but we have the same baseline, as in if we can find different ways to keep ourselves in the present moment, stay aware, that's really the key to unlocking your power through trading.
100%.
So that basically brings us to the next question. Would you say that passing challenges are more so of a technical thing, as far as, learning how to trade a strategy correctly and mainly focusing that way? Or would you say it's more so psychology and, mental exercises that you need to implement and work on?
That's a really great question, because you definitely need to know what you're doing on the charts. That plays a huge role. But once you are able to identify exactly what you need to see, the setups that you want to see in the market, you got to be able to pull that trigger. And the psychology is what kind of affects that pulling the trigger, holding those trades, the risk management. And that's going to play the biggest part of if you're going to be profitable and remain profitable, is if you're able to like implement the psychology. It's almost 50-50, but I would say that once you understand the technicals completely, it's all mindset from that point, because now you just need to operate based off that system that you have in place and be able to execute day in, day out, be able to be like unbiased when it comes to the markets. And I think from that point, that's when I would say psychology is everything, once you already know what you're looking at. But in the beginning stages, you definitely have to know what you're doing in the market. And I think that's where I really like benefited from TGFX in itself, because it was more so of definitely understanding what I'm doing in the market and what I need to look at. And then the psychology part plays a huge role in execution.
I totally agree on that. And it's actually funny that you brought that up, because earlier today, I felt like I finally put it in the right words. But when I was looking at the market, how a lot of times, especially if you're a new trader, your heart starts racing so quickly when you see the candles moving and you just want to be involved with the market. You chase it. You're just reacting to what you see. But, earlier today, when we were trading live, it was funny because I just kind of took a step back. And what I heard in my head was the markets are just ours. So have you ever heard from, mindfulness practices and all that kind of stuff? They say you just are, or just be in that moment. So it's kind of playing off of that, where the markets just are. They're not, doing anything to you. They don't know you. They don't know what you've been through today. They don't know how much money you have or how big your account is. They just are. It is the market, right? But what happens is we overlay on top of the markets our emotions, our feelings, our beliefs, our perceptions. which is then what makes it painful when we see the market moving against us, or, makes it overly exciting when the market moves our way. It's that overlay that a lot of times gets us trapped into, sabotaging ourselves or making bad decisions. So if we can once again find something that can wedge in between the markets and our perceptions and, our beliefs, that allows us a little bit of space to ask ourselves and step back and say, is what I'm seeing in the market right now truly what the market is showing me, or is it biased based off the outcome I actually want from this market in this moment? So we also have to go back to the fact that our brain literally thinks if we lose a trade, it's death, right? Because of how our brain is wired. We're not made to be able to handle losses, because back in caveman days, if we lost, that means we died. So it's interesting how our brain works. And it's interesting how trading is actually one of the best ways to tap into, developing yourself on a personal level, but also, diving deeper into trading psychology truly unlocks your power. Now, what allowed you to get to the point where you detach from the outcome and allow trades to play out, whether it's win or loss?
Man, I would say the biggest thing is just trial and error. I think over the first few years of me trading, it came to a point to where I had to understand that literally the only way for me to be profitable was to go with the ebbs and flows of the market. So pretty similar to what you were just saying, like the market just exists. It doesn't care about my win or loss. I just have to be the most in tune with it as I can and continue to flow with it. So flowing with it is going to include wins. It's going to include losses as well. But if I have a high risk to reward strategy, over time, I'm going to be profitable. So again, I just really came to a realization and sat down and said, the only way that I'm going to quote unquote win or really be profitable in this market is if I can detach from what it does day in and day out. And I think the biggest thing for me is really just taking that step back, doing those meditations, understanding that life is going to be bigger than just that day, that moment. And it's the same thing with the markets and my results. Like, it's not based on the day to day, it's based on the week to week, the month to month, the year to year. And I want to be profitable over time. I don't want to just be overexcited one day from a win and then depressed the next day from a loss. And I know the markets is really just synonymous to life. So it's going to be ups and downs in the market just as well as in life. But if I can kind of maintain and detach and keep a mellow flow through it all, I know that's how I ultimately win.
Man, I think you summed that up perfectly. So switching to the next question, how long does it normally take you to pass prop-firm challenges?
So me, I think I'll take a slow and steady approach. I think trading with like 1% per trade kind of affects my psychology if I do take a few losses. So in order to kind of combat that, I started trading with just 0.5% per risk. So it usually takes me at least 20 to 30 days, like for that phase one, about the same time or cut it in half. So a couple weeks for phase two. So I think the biggest thing is just kind of holding to extended targets when I am trading. That helps me hit those profit targets a lot quicker. But I would say that I do try to take it slow and steady. I don't try to pass it in one trade. But I think that within that 20 days, that's still rather quickly as well. So I think the biggest part is just definitely maintaining and holding trades to an extended target. But on the same side, cutting that risk in half to help my psychology to be able to maintain through those wins and losses.
I think you just mentioned something very important, the fact that you're not actually rushing to pass these challenges. Now, everybody knows on this channel I talk about passing the challenge in one day, less than 12 hours, etc., which is definitely possible. But I do also want you guys to understand that it takes a lot of effort, skill, time studying, just a lot of sacrifices to get to the level where you can do that. And also, if you aren't there yet with your technical skill or psychology, what you can end up doing is blowing a lot of accounts. And if you're not in a position where you can continue purchasing accounts, that will not be a good route for you to go. So once again, I think depending on what your personal situation looks like as the trader you are, you have the best understanding of what approach you should take. Now, we always say in the live trade room that we should definitely use 0.5% risk or lower. That just gives you the best odds, right? Because we understand that losses are inevitable, wins are inevitable, but we just simply don't know what order they'll come in. So it's extremely important, like Jordan said, to, use proper risk management and take your time on it, because at the end of the day, if you're using 0.5% risk and you hit a 1 to 3, that's 1.5% on just that trade. If it goes for extended targets, that could easily turn into 2, 3, 4% in profit, and you only risk 0.5%. So it allows you to take advantage of the market movements, especially with our smaller stop losses, but still, catch huge risk reward trades. So how long have you actually been trading?
Yeah, so actually about 5 years now.
And out of that 5 years, how long would you say it took you to actually become profitable?
Yeah, so I would say for me, it took me at least 2 to 2.5 years before I really start seeing that profitability kind of come in. And that was really right around the time I started taking your course and start diving deep into it. I know then kind of soon after we entered shutdown, so everyone was in the house. So I really like utilized that time to lock in, on top of having a son on the way, you know what I mean? I really just looked at that time as an opportunity and locked in on the charts, start studying and back testing, diving into the course and everything like that. I even took your 5-day course and, from there, the rest was history.
I love how you worded it, where you said you took advantage of the downtime during COVID versus, getting complacent. I know a lot of people were using that time to do unproductive things. So that was actually really cool. Now, do you have any advice on time management for other traders, with younger families, spouses, etc.? How did you actually manage, balancing work, a family, and, taking care of yourself?
So in all honesty, Ray, it's gonna be hard at first. I would tell you guys, you got to use all of your extra free time to lock in on the charts and studying, everything outside of what I was doing for my family, outside of work. And I know some learn faster than others, but for me, I looked at it as stacking a brick, every single day. So outside of the time that I had to spend for work and for my family, if that meant that I was going to take 2 hours every night to stay up late while everyone else was sleeping, I was locking in studying. Or if I would get up early before I needed to go to work, I'm locking in studying. So throughout that process, over time of putting that time in and day out, you'll get to that place where you'll actually become profitable. Everyone doesn't have 8 to 12 hours to spend on the chart every day. But what you can do, if you do have a job, if you do have a family, you do have responsibilities, set out that window, that 30 minutes to an hour, if max even, let's say 2 hours each and every day, stacking that brick every single day. You'll look back and be surprised where you're at if you just keep going. So, trading has to be on one of those priorities. That might mean cutting out Netflix, cutting out social media, cutting out hanging out with friends for a while. It happens. But as you know, as an adult, we have to grow. We got to start taking care of our families and responsibilities. So some things got to get put to the side for a while so that you can actually elevate, and take yourself, your family, your goals to that next level.
I love that. Do you think it's possible to get to the point where you can consistently get 5-figure payouts without some kind of sacrifice?
I don't think so, and I think that comes with anything in life. It's going to take sacrifices. And we're talking about getting a 5-figure payout now, especially if you don't come from money. You don't come from seeing that on a regular day-to-day basis with your 9-to-5 job. It's going to take sacrifices. It's going to take putting that work in to get to that level. But in the end, all the sacrifices is well worth it. I wouldn't trade anything that I had to sacrifice on my journey. Now, was it a struggle? Absolutely, yes. But honestly, don't regret any of it. And I'm extremely happy where I'm at, and where I see myself going.
Welcome to the all new and redefined TGFX Live Trade Room app, providing an experience like no other, tailored to the needs of traders globally. Access our live trading streams directly from the web app anytime and anywhere. Move, resize, and customize the experience to your needs. Start every trading session inspired and motivated with daily quotes. Access live financial news data from the economic calendar. Mark up charts directly in the app, powered by TradingView. Enjoy helpful risk management tools and calculators all at your fingertips, as well as a video archive for all of our live sessions and classes. The best part? Access all of these features while we stream and trade live with ultra low latency. Access detailed walkthroughs, tutorials, member exclusive content, and downloads. Would you rather watch the stream on a separate screen or window? Simply click join via Zoom, which will give you access instantly. Welcome to the future. Technical Gods, simplifying the journey to becoming a profitable trader. And that's one thing we really want to get across to you guys, is that this is more than possible for you guys to do. We're living examples of that, and we show you guys this for motivation. Our whole goal is to show you guys that you can do it too. This is more than possible, but like Jordan said, it's going to take sacrifice. It's going to take consistency, persistence, and discipline to actually get to this point, because there's so many things that are going to be roadblocks on your journey, whether it's self-sabotage, whether it's, financial struggles at first, whether it's family duties. There's always going to be something, but we all have to reach that point, that breaking point where it's like, it's do or die. Like, we have to put everything into this or just give up. So years ago, when you first started actually trading the TGFX strategy, what actually made it click for you versus other strategies that you may have seen online?
So what I could say is, before the TGFX strategy, what I was doing was more so just price action. I had huge stop losses, only being able to really hit like a 1-to-1, 1-to-1.5, 1-to-2 tops. That was like my maximum take profit level. So I think one of the biggest things that really attracted me to TGFX was one being the fact that it was a high risk to reward strategy. I think implementing that kind of showed me really quickly how profitable I could be. And I love how the strategy actually fits in more so towards taking a prop firm model. I knew that with the strategy that I had before, I wasn't going to get that 10%. I wasn't even going to get an 8% target within that 30 days. So, and I think the way that you broke the trades down made a lot more sense than anything that I was seeing from any of the trading courses that I took out there, because it was like, I was taking a trade based off of 2 MAs crossing. You know what I mean? But now it's like when I started taking your strategy, you actually explain why the markets are doing exactly what they're doing, based off liquidity, the algorithm, imbalances, session levels, all these things, all these secrets to the market that I actually started to implement to actually understand why I'm taking that setup and what price needs to achieve in the market. That really helped out a ton and made a lot of sense to me.
Definitely. And I love that you mentioned how, the TGFX strategy is focused more so on smaller stop losses to catch those bigger risk to rewards. But if you think about the rules of a prop firm challenge, you have a time limit, right? So you only have 30 to 35 days to pass each phase. But if you really think about it, it's so much harder for a swing trader to pass these challenges with proper risk management, because let's say they naturally go for a 1-to-2 or a 1-to-3 and they use 0.5% risk, but it takes 2 weeks to see the outcome of that trade. Well, now either they have to stack multiple trades, which, ups their risk, or they're only able to take 2 or 3 trades before their challenge time is up. But versus us, where we're approaching the market as intraday traders with scalp entries, we're able to maximize a market movement of anywhere from 20 to 100 pip range, catching good risk to reward, and then we could come back tomorrow and find a whole nother setup and do the same exact thing. So I definitely think a major key to passing prop firm challenges is honestly refining your stop loss, finding a strategy, like Jordan said, that complements taking prop firm challenges well. Now, what do you think about actually rolling your stops when you're taking a challenge? So for an example, let's say you have a trade, you're catching a buy, you're up 1-to-3 risk to reward. Now, let's say you also have multiple targets ahead of you. Would you then roll your stop to break even on every trade to protect yourself from potentially going back negative, or would you allow your stop loss to stay where it is?
Yeah, so I think like my take profit style is more so of a balance. I'm looking at more so structure opposed to like price targets. So I'm looking at, has liquidity been ran? Is price in an impulse? Is price doing a take profit event? Are there order blocks and structure being built in my direction for me to even move my stops? So generally speaking, once I'm around a 1 to 1.5, 1-to-2, somewhere around that range, and if price is building order blocks in whatever direction I'm trading, that's when I'm moving my stops to half. 1-to-3 is where I go break even. And then from that point, I'm holding my trade to my extended target now. And then specifically when taking a challenge, let's say we're in a breakout range and I got price going for that final target for a 1-to-10. Once I get in that 1-to-7, 1-to-8, 1-to-9 range, that's when I'm going to move my stop loss up significantly. So for me, it's really just finding that balance of actually letting that trade go to those extended profits, but being smart about it, so I make sure that I secure something while it's going into profit.
Most definitely. And for everybody listening right now, make sure that you caught the major gems he's giving out. So he said to wait for structure to form before trailing your stop loss. Don't move your stop loss out of fear. Don't go to break even out of fear for the market coming back, but move to break even or trail your stop as prices create new structures that make sense that it won't come back to that point. I see this a lot with new traders where they move their stop losses too quick over and over, and that becomes a self-sabotaging habit. So just make sure you guys are waiting for actual structure to form. So we definitely dropped a lot of gems in this video. Now to wrap it up, what would be a piece of advice you give to traders trying to get their first big payout?
You gotta practice patience. I could preach it over and over again. I think the biggest part is being patient with yourself, being patient with the process. You have to eliminate time. I think the biggest thing that I learned throughout my journey is that literally time does not exist. It's only the steps that you need to take to get from point A to point B. And point B being that we all want consistent profit from the market. We want these big payouts. I think taking that time to work on yourself, your personal growth and development is key. But giving yourself that time, that patience to understand what you need to see in the market, and understand it's not about rushing to the process and getting to the end. It's about enjoying the process and the journey.
And on that note, we're going to wrap it up. If you'd like to watch us trade live, watch our psychology in the moment, you can visit tgfx-academy.com to join us Monday through Friday, New York session. Take care, guys. See you in the next video.